Been doing a lot of pondering lately. I do wonder why or what drew me to the hobbies that I get into, and they all seem interlinked. I suppose I can pinpoint the fundamental sort of the basics of what I do or what I enjoy doing is derived from sort of going down to the roots of things. Speaking of which, I better keep an eye on this water level because I've got ground below me. I've got a while to go. But things like going cold water sea dunking when there's no pollution in the water, that is. The whole experience of doing that, dare I say, it's kind of spiritual or something a bit grounding. I was thinking about it the other day. When you're in the water, okay, so forget the boat. When you get in the water, you're buoyant. You're within this completely enveloping cold compress that is planet Earth, and you're floating within that sphere, floating in space, zipping around the sun. And it's very apparent that, without being too sort of, it does sort of go, oi, you're here. And I do wonder if in today's world we are desensitized to being. And we get all this stuff about to improve mental health, you exercise, get outside, eat well, sleep well. Oh, hang on a minute. These are all basic stuff that our body, our being should do. Like, since when did we stop being wild creatures? Did we? Just because we're domesticated? No. We're still creatures. And simplicity seems to be okay. So if I just go, simplicity is the best. It's more complicated than that. I think understanding simplicity makes sense. I'm not very good at putting things out. I can write stuff down and make more sense when I sort of correct myself and reread what I've written. But things like lighting fires, when my son was born, or when my wife was pregnant with my son, it was my first step into being a dad, and something in my mind went, you've got to learn how to light a fire without matches. And I did. And I thought, do you know what? That's like Planet Earth University Step 1. Somewhere down my family tree, there once was a caveman and a cave woman, and they popped out my great grandfather and parents, or wherever they were. And now I've done that, so it sort of seems fitting. I've done the next best thing to, dealing with my mortality. Not dealing with it as in like I planned it out, but I've continued that line, which is quite profound. I was thinking about this pollution getting dumped into the sea. I can only go by what I see on the little app thing that goes, it's a bit yucky out there, don't go for a swim. And I understand we live in England, which has kind of got quite a lot of grandfather's rights. But we're now let's sort out the grim stuff. We've got the technology. We ain't got the money. Haha. But my experiences with this water, going on the water with the boat, going for a swim in the sea, and literally being touched by the universe. And all this stuff going on about space exploration, they're looking at water on the moon. So they've yet to find, from what I gathered, they got enough information and knowledge to be able to say they can mine the water that's on the moon in the South Pole or whatever it was, in order to make oxygen and drinking water and rocket fuel. The hydrogen and the oxygen, two molecules, blah blah blah, all that kind of fascinating scientific stuff. I'd love to think that would lead to us understanding and actually really appreciating how sacred water really is. And that's not a light word I'm using. That's possibly the most specific, most intense thing I've thought about recently, that water is sacred. And it's, I feel like I want to say something, but it's missing. I don't know what it is that's missing. But water is sacred. I mean, just look at this. I feel like I want to be able to say I appreciate water more than I can, but I can't. Do we not live in a day and age where dumping water into the sea is a bit old hat? I know I'm saying this and like, oh, why don't you do something about it? I mean, what can I do? I can barely get a say in what goes on day to day in my life, let alone anything else. Let's hope things change for the better. Perhaps the technology is just within reach, and we've got to ride the rough before we get the smooth. I really hope that's the case, because if that's the case, I can live with that. I can live with it being rough. If there's smoothness at the end of the roughness, I think anybody could live with that. In fact, if we could guarantee smoothness at the end of the roughness, I reckon we could even do a bit harder. But when there's no sort of end in sight, my gosh, it does feel a bit depressing.